Good questions.
Is the governor going to be able to fully fund his education initiative?
The plan is that it will be funded on, I believe it's a 10-year rollout. So if everything works well together, then we are going to be able to fund it. And contrary to the popular motto on the street, or mantra on the street, I should say, is that it wasn't funded, that's just simply not true. You know that we're getting a lot of pushback from some of the school systems, but we worked very hard with the school systems on the education plan. And there was a slight increase in dollars that went to the schools this year. And the governor, as most of you know, the governor's, one of his #1 agendas is education. So that is the hope that it will be funded within a rollout period over the next 10 years.
Governor Strickland, as a candidate, promised to shift the burden of funding education from property tax owners to some other system. I'm wondering, is that included in the education initiative? That's the first part of my question. The second part, do you see, what do you see as the outcome of the debate over funding, accepting funding from the federal government for the rail system? I know you ran into a buzzsaw with Republicans and needing the Republican votes for that, but what do you see as the outcome of that?
What we see as the outcome, I'll start with your second question first. What we see as the outcome is that there is a $25 million study that needs to happen with the monies that we got from the feds, and it's going to be going before the controlling board. And our expectation is that that will pass through the controlling board, and that we will be able to fund the study that will then tell us whether or not we will get rail in this state. So we do believe that there is an environment right now. Senator Harris presented the governor with a 16-page letter asking questions about rail. We answered that, and we believe that there are no outstanding questions remaining on that. So I think what you hear now is a lot of specifics on the weeds, and folks really questioning schedules and things like that, as opposed to looking at the broader-based policies of why rail is good for the state of Ohio. So I do believe we're in a good place to actually get the first part of that $25 million through controlling board, and we shall see. I mean, stranger things have happened, but we feel like we're in a good place right now. On your question about shifting the education, I cannot answer that, and I would be remiss if I even attempted to start answering that. That's not my wheelhouse nor my field of expertise. So I'm happy to get back to your group with that answer once I talk to the governor's policy person.
I'll give you a softball question.
I like softball.
The Chancellor of the Board of Regents is now very actively running around promoting higher education as an economic engine. Speaking as a league member, occasionally we miss hearing something about the role of higher education in teaching citizenship and critical thinking. This is not a political hot potato. Can we expect the governor to occasionally reference this broader role for higher education?
The broader role of teaching citizenship and teaching
that is,
education.
Higher ed is not just job prep.
Absolutely. It's not just about jobs, and I think that, you know, it's true. We may have gotten lost a little bit in the fact that we are focusing on why education is important for jobs, but it's very true. I think that Chancellor Fingerhut is extremely qualified in the position that he is in, and focusing on the university system of Ohio and higher education. And so we can expect to hear more on the details of higher education itself and why it's important. And that's something that we've been focusing on as well.
Other questions?
I'm Jim Uproff from Dayton League, Vice President of the Program. But in another hat that I wear, because I've been with Wright State for 43 years, I'm also the process committee chair for a project in Greene County It's called Shared Service Delivery. And the governor came out in mid-October to help us kick off that process. And the idea being that school districts looking at ways in which they can work together. The funding for this project is all not government money. It's private funding that is getting this study. But the governor has given us very strong support for this. And I think it's one of the ways in which he's trying to help us in school districts that are involved to stretch what monies we do have and to make more efficient spending of monies, but also ways to improve the curriculum, the program, the options that are available to students. And if you can do both of those two things at the same time, they're really working. And that may have been something you weren't even aware that he was with us or supporting of us, but this is strictly very much of a private initiative with all of the Greene County school districts working together in ways in which they can do a better job. And I think it addresses the whole financial side. I was a school board member in Montgomery County for 18 and the third years, so I know whereof you speak.
Well, and a lot of you have heard probably about the Race to the Top funding that we were a finalist for, and we're not selected for the first round of funding, but that there will be a second round of funding coming up in the summertime that we're really hoping we'll be able to get those dollars and be able to put money back into the schools.
Take one more question.
I was at a meeting Monday evening, and one of the state representatives referred to the fact that Ohio was 47 out of the 51 states in business climate. If we're 15th best in tax, what are the other things that are causing us to be clear down at the bottom in business friendliness?
You know, the one thing that I will say, I'm not sure where the 47 out of 51 comes from, and I think that you can get any study to say anything, so I can't answer that specifically about why that particular study says 47. Every single one that I've seen talks about us being substantially higher. So I can't answer that without getting more details as to what this particular business study showed and said that we were 47th, because that's just simply contrary to what we've seen.
Sure.
I can answer that question, actually. It's an old statistic. That's basically all it is. It's before the CAT tax was implemented.
Love having knowledge in the room. That's great.
Thank you, everyone, for the questions that you asked. I think this has been a great demonstration, both from Ms. Jones as well as you, that we are the type of people that will jump in the lake, in the river, and get those drowning kids, but also run upstream to figure out what's happening. And I hope that we will all continue to do that. I want to thank Ms. Jones again for coming this morning and sharing just a wealth of information